Hello, my friends. This is 𝗘𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗃, the Positive Vibes artist. Welcome to my returning subscribers. Welcome to all new viewers. If you like the channel, I ask that you please leave a like on the video and subscribe. This is the opening of my Hobonichi order from 𝗔𝗿𝗁𝗵𝗲𝗿 located in Houston, Texas. Personally, I always focus on ordering from small businesses. It's very important for me, especially if they are local. And I was going to get my order from a little craft place, but overnight they sold out of the cover I wanted. Yeah, so at 1:30 in the morning, I was placing an online order with 𝗔𝗿𝗁𝗵𝗲𝗿 to get the cover I wanted. And what's up? Okay. Which end is up? Here we go. Without further ado. Oh my gosh. Okay, let me turn. How cute is this? Says thank you from Larry. How nice. Okay, here we go. And there it is. And isn't it just the cutest, most adorable thing you've ever seen? Oh my God. I can't even right now. I wanted this cover, and of course, I had severe reservations of going back into the Hobonichi cousin after the 2024 Tomoe River Paper fiasco. But then I saw an early review of the paper quality on YouTube, and I wish I could remember whose channel it was. I want to say it was Yoseka, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But they did a pen test page, and they were like, it feels like the original. And I was just like, I sure hope so. I'm gonna go for it and see. For 2025, I've been in a Sterling ink common planner for the majority of the year. That is also with the new version of the Tomoe River Paper, the Sanzen. Anything post 2024 now is with the new Sanzen Tomoe River Paper, which is the inconsistent quality paper. And I was using the Sterling ink common planner, like I said, and I used it up into May. And then it just started to drive me insane because it's like the paper quality just on a single sheet varied from top to bottom. You'd be going great guns here with your fountain pen and everything be looking wonderful. And then over here, it's bleeding. Over here, it's feathering. And I'm like, it was like in bits and blobs on the page. At least that was my personal experience. So starting in May, I moved into the Wonderland 222, and I really liked it. But of course, I only had a, I think it was I can't remember now how many months were in it. I only used it for, until July. Then in July, I moved into volume 2 of the 2-volume common planner from Sterling Ink, since I had purchased both of them, obviously. And if you got volume 1, you should get volume 2. Look at the back. Oh my gosh. And I apologize for the glare from my ring light. I'm going to take the plastic off, and you'll be able to see the cover in all its glory. But I didn't have the problems with volume 2 that I did with volume 1. Did this come with stuff, or is that, what? Oh my goodness, I think that comes with little things in it. Cute little things. Oh my goodness. You know, and so the volume 2 has been doing great. I have not seen any inconsistency on any of the pages, which is really funny. So if I had just stuck it out to the end of volume 1, I wouldn't have had to use the Wonderland 222, but you know, that's the way it goes. But this is the Hobonichi cousin 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗃. And for what I use it for, it has been for 3 years my everyday carry. I don't really carry it. I work from home. I am very blessed in that. So, you know, I just use it in my home. The only time I take it out of town is if I'm going to my in-laws, and even then I've got a separate little smaller journal I take. So here is the 2025 with the Monday Star, 1 page per day. It's in A5, and it begins in January, the English edition. Over 10 million copies sold. All right, so they always include, Hobonichi always includes a cute, strange little pamphlet with their journals. This one has a robot, and the robot is, of course, carrying a notebook. It says, "You love you? ? You loving yourself. That's probably a good start. A place to record your every day." And then it just goes into their line of planners. Gives you ideas of things to write about. Quiet. .D picture. I'm going to just write pen test on the top of the page. This is a Pentel Sign Touch pen. I use these in my notebooks and journals also, so this will tell me how the black looks. And I always know that's what I use for the title of the pen test page, so I don't have to write down the name of that pen. I'm just letting you know. Oh, Lordy. I just sat on my cat. I stood up to get this out of my journaling pouch, and she had gotten up in my chair, and I didn't realize it, and I've got a soft cushion on it. And so when I sat back down, I was like, oh, this cushion feels extra soft for some reason. And all of a sudden, the cushion started to move. You crazy little creature. Here, go over here. Here. Say hi first. Come here. Oh, no. Come here. Looky. There she is. That's Blue Star. She is a chartreuse. And she is a character and a half, let me tell you. Oh, and of course now Magic has to be here too. She is my Australian Shepherd. Both of my babies are extremely needy. Oh my goodness. And they are so jealous of each other. I start paying attention to the one, the other one comes running, you know? Okay, so let me kind of situate this a little bit better. Okay. We'll start with this since it's right there. I'm going to pull it a little bit closer to me. These are all of my currently inked. I just filled them today for the rest of September and a little bit into October. Some of these are not a complete fill like this one. Because for October, I'm going to use some different colors and stuff. So I want to be able to, you know, change out my pen and not have to worry about the ink drying in the pen or anything. So the first one is the Novelar or Narwhal, California Dreamin', medium nib, and it has, oh, this is the offender. This is the Conklin Dark Rust. That's the bottle that fell and created chaos. We're going to see what this looks like. And I'm going to have to tilt it a little bit. I'm a lefty, and I have to write at a slight angle, or everything will look like gobbledygook. Here we go. Making sure I'm still on camera. Okay, good. So I always write the name of the pen, well, the brand, and the type of pen it is, and I just goofed. So I'll write the name of the ink here. Deep Rust. Or was it Dark Rust? It's Dark Rust. Yeah, the other one is Deep Mahogany. Deep Mahogany is really pretty. I found out when I had my accident earlier today that Deep Rust, when you get it on your hands, it looks just like dried blood. I took pictures. There you go. Posted them to my Instagram stories, and one of my clients immediately DM'd me. She was like, oh my God, this looks like a horror movie. It looks like you cut yourself so bad. I'm so glad it was just ink. I'm like, yeah, just ink that took about 8 washings to get off my skin. This is the novel Our California Dreaming, or Narwhal. I think they go by both. I'm not sure. You know what? It's writing quite smoothly, which is unusual because this nib is a tiny bit scratchy on Tomoe River paper. It does better on 160 GSM paper, like, you know, an Archer, an Olive, you know, Notebook Therapy, those kind of brands. This worked out really nice, and I'm going to flip it over. Do we have any bleed through? No. Now, we do get light shadowing, but, you know, that's really common with Tomoe River paper, and in my opinion, that's part of the charm of the paper. So I'm fully expecting that, but I don't even see much of a shadow. That's excellent. So each one gets a heart. This means the ink is good, even though now I only have a 1/4 bottle remaining. And the pen is smooth, which is incredible. All right, that one's a winner. Next up is something I cannot pronounce. The model name is Unica. It is a limited edition. It may or may not be numbered. I can't read it well. I had cataract surgery the end of last year that didn't go well, and so I have a lot of trouble seeing fine print now and everything, and I'm actually going on September 12th for the YAG procedure, which is where they repeatedly shoot your eye with a laser to get the remaining cataract. Not the cataract. What happens is they don't get all the cataract cells out of your eyeball, which is horrible. It is as horrible as it sounds. And they have to go in and shoot your eye repeatedly with a laser to get the lens out, because what happens is the natural lenses of your eye grow back if they don't get it all out. I don't remember how this one is spelled. I think it's, no, it's O. I think it's O-I-A. Moria or something, and it's the Unica. God, this is so smooth. And this is a really nice nib. It's supposed to be an EF, extra fine, but it writes like a really heavy medium. And it has, double check on my list, yes, it has the Conklin Rich Mahogany ink, which is a gorgeous color for fall. And this pen is even writing on this paper quite wet. I mean, can you see the glare from the ink, from the wetness of the ink? So I'm waiting for it to dry. Kind of waving the paper. You know, sometimes I like to watch ink dry, but this is not one of those times. Wow, it's still wet. That's crazy. Okay, I'm going to cap the pen. It's still wet. I want to be sure it's completely dry before I flip it over, because that will be truly indicative of any possible bleed through or heavy ghosting, because some inks will ghost heavier on the Tomoe River paper than others, and that also depends upon how juicy the nib is of your fountain pen. So I'm just making sure. God, that took quite a while. That took well over a minute. Okay, it's dry, and we flip it. Oh, yeah. You see that? Bleeding, bleeding. Yeah, I can't use that ink. I really like the way the pen writes on the paper. So the ink gets a no. God, I really was looking forward to using this pen on this paper. I don't know. I'm going to give it a question mark. I'm going to try it with a different ink in another month and see if it'll behave. Because it could just be the ink. So this one, the ink is definitely a no. The 𝗔𝗿𝗰𝗵𝗲𝗿 mahogany. It's too wet. Bleeds through. But it could be because the extra fine nib of this pen really writes like a very juicy medium for some reason. So it may be that the nib is just too juicy. Now this is a 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Peoples of the World 𝗏𝗏𝗏. And the 𝗏𝗏𝗏 are people who live in, I believe it's West Africa, and they are the ones who have very accurate star maps that date back to who knows when, and no one knows how they created those star maps. Yeah, it's kind of weird. And they have all these stories about star people. Yeah. So this is a, let me see what's in this one. 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Peoples of the World has, okay, it's got a fine nib, and the ink in it is by Private Reserve, and the color is Shoreline Gold. So here we go. Ooh, it is just gliding. I love it. I have to thank the wonderful people of 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃, I almost said Dogon, for sending me this pen for my honest review of the world. Okay. It is a lovely pen. And like I said, it has a fine nib. And it has Private Reserve. Private Reserve is a brand of Jaffa brands. 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 is a brand of Jaffa brands, so they all, you know, Jaffa brands distributes all of them, and including Conklin, which I'll be testing out here as well, and I've got some more 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃s to test out. And this was again called Shoreline Gold. This pen is just gliding. And again, it's the quality of the paper. This is a fine nib. I don't really enjoy using it in my Archer and Olive journals. And by the way, I'm affiliate for Archer and Olive. My affiliate code is POSITIVEVIBES10. That'll save you 10%. And all of my codes for everything else are down below in the description. Be sure to check them out before you leave my video. I don't like using this particular pen in my Archer and Olives because it does tend to be kind of scratchy, but then all the fine nib pens tend to be kind of scratchy in those, on that 160 GSM paper. Let me turn it over. It's a little heavy on the ghosting to where you can almost see the color, but there's no bleed through for it. So I'm going to go ahead and give the pen a heart because it writes great. And then I'll just put the word ghost here to let me know it ghosts a bit heavier than what the Conklin Dark Rust ghosted. Now this will be interesting. This is a 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Invincia Deluxe, and the color is called Carbon Fiber. There is actual carbon fiber in here, so it looks, as you rotate it, it kind of looks like it's moving or rippling. It's a very cool effect. And this is with the rose gold trim. And this pen has a bold nib, and I have 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗃 Raven Noir in it. So this will be interesting. Let's see. Oh, wow. It's like you're writing on air. See, this is why I love Tomoe River Paper, because your fountain pens, they just glide across the paper. It's amazing. 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝘴𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Deluxe Carbon. Fiber, and the nib is B for broad, and the ink is 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝘴𝗃𝗃𝗃. All right, still a little bit wet, so we're going to wait a minute. And check it for ghosting and bleeding. In addition to fountain pen inks, I also test watercolors, so you'll want to hang on and see that part of the test too. Look at that. It's great. There is no bleed through. Again, the ghosting's a little bit on the heavy side, but we're dealing with a very black ink. So, you know, I fully expected it to ghost heavily, so the pen definitely gets a big heart. And even though there's heavy ghosting, I'll give it a heart. And I'll just annotate there that it does ghost heavily. All right. Let's skip. Let's do something else, because this other one's a 𝗘𝗹𝗃𝗃𝗃 too. This is a Retro 51. I believe it's called Autumn Leaves. I know it's a limited edition, and I think it was a collab with 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗃𝗃 pens. I think. I would have to look at my receipt, but it's a gorgeous pen. Perfect for fall, and my favorite color is purple. When I saw this pen, I just about lost my mind. Fall is my favorite season. So yeah, really happy to get this one. And this is a 1.1 milliliter, right? Yeah, millimeter nib. Oh my gosh, Retro 51. Oh, this is heavenly. So smooth. I'm just writing more because I want to. 1.1. And this is with, I can't read my writing here. 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗃𝗃𝗃𝗃. Now, in this pen, this is going to be a wet ink because of the 1.1 millimeter nib. So, it's like parts of this dried right away and other parts did not. So I'm going to wave it around a little bit because I got to be sure it's completely dry, because if it's going to bleed through, it'll do so as the ink is drying. Okay, that appears to be completely dry now, and the verdict is no bleed through. It ghosts a little heavy in places, but I don't have a problem with that, because I mean, I use stickers and a washi in my journals, and so when I do a page, I try not to do deco in my journals too far in advance, and that way, if I see that it's gonna bleed on the opposite page, I can use washi or something to cover that up. The pen writes like a dream. It always does anyway. I love this pen. And the ink does really well. All right. Let's do 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝘃𝗃. I don't know if that's how it's pronounced. It is spelled TWSBI. This is the 𝗘𝗹𝗹𝗶𝗃𝗃 in eggplant. It is a piston filling pen. I have two other piston filling pens out here that I'll be testing in a minute. This one contains Emerald Gardens by Ferris Wheel Press. That is a shimmer ink. I think it's the Eco Tea actually. And this is an eggplant. It's the only TWSBI I have, but I'm going to be noting the color because I really like it. And I do eventually want to get another one. And it is a medium nib. And it has Ferris Wheel Press. This is writing so smooth. This is a very smooth writing pen anyhow. If I wanted to, I could even write with it on craft paper. I wouldn't dare because I think that would ruin the nib. But, so I know the pen's going to be awesome already. Go ahead and give that a heart, and I will see how the ink does because this is the, yeah, it's the first shimmer. Yeah, that's great. That's really great. There's the heart. You see, here are my little hearts, my annotations. There we go, that's perfect. And I'm just using up the ink in this pen, and then I will probably put something else in it because I really love this pen. All right, now we're gonna go back to Monteverde. This is another different model of the Invincia Deluxe. This is obviously abalone with lacquer on it. It's just an absolutely stunning pen, and it is pretty much, it literally is. It's the favorite in my collection. I don't remember where I bought it from, but yeah, I was really, really happy to get it. It is numbered. I could not tell you what the number is. It's somewhere in the low 200s, I remember. Because again, I can't see it right now. Hopefully after Friday, I'll be able to see it. I would appreciate if y'all would pray for me. I would appreciate that so much. I'm gripping about that procedure I'm gonna have. It's just really scary. So, Monteverde. This is an Omniflex nib, and it is temperamental. So when I do use it, I have to write very slowly or I do not get the thick downstroke and the thin upstroke as you do with an Omniflex. And that's my fault. I think I pressed too hard on it at one point because when I first got it, it worked great. I just need to get a new nib, replace it. They're not that expensive. Okay, this is another Invincia Deluxe. See what I mean when I write faster, it loses the variation of the line. So I'll write this slow. Deluxe. Abalone. It probably has another name. I just call it abalone. I don't remember what its original name is. I need to ask Liz at Monteverde. She's my contact there because I am a brand ambassador for them. Let me see. This is Ferris Wheel Press. Non-shimmer ink. It is Peter Moss, which I thought would be a really pretty green going into fall. And already the pen gets a heart. And now we check out the ink. It's still pretty wet, so I'm just gonna wave the paper around. I should have brought my heat gun down here. I didn't think about that. I'm downstairs. All my art supplies are upstairs. Okay. All right, the writing is fine. It might have a tendency to slightly bleed through if the ink is heavier, But the heart, which is solid, you know, you saw me color it in, it has a few specks of bleed through, but it's not a problem. So for the ink, I will go ahead and give it a heart because I still think it looks gorgeous, and then I will put slight bleed, just so I know to be careful with it. Oh, let's go to a Conklin. This is a collab between Conklin and Jonathan Brooks. This is got a really long name. It's the name of it refers to the mix of the resin by Jonathan Brooks, and he did a limited number of these. I believe there's either 198 or 998, I forget, because it is a Conklin 1898 model. Usually you see the Misto pens, you know, with this blend of resin. I do have 2 Mistos. I've got the purple and the green. This is Primary Manipulation number 4. I believe that's the full title. If I'm wrong, I'll put the correct title across the screen here. And it is numbered, and the number, I think, yeah, the number's back here. And I do know, I was able to see it because I used a magnifying glass. This is 002. Yeah, I about died when I saw that. And it says the number on the box too, on the exterior of the box. And I was like, that can't be right. Oh, it was right. Okay, I'm just gonna put it on this line. This has Ferris Wheel Press, Aurora Realis, however it's pronounced, ink in it, which is a gorgeous purple shimmer with purple ink with red shimmer. Conklin, what is this again? It's an 1898 model. Primary, I believe it's Primary Manipulation number 4. Again, if I'm incorrect, I will put the correct name across the screen in case anyone's interested in finding this pen for themselves. I'm sure there's some left somewhere. And this is the Jonathan Brooks collab. I typically don't write this much in my pen tests, but I'm really liking the way this pen writes. Brooks, okay, and it is a medium nib. And it has Ferris Wheel Press. Let me see my notes here. How's it spelled? Aurora Realis. Boom. Okay, already the way the pen writes, again, it's the paper. I mean, Tomoe River Paper is literally, it's in a class by itself, in my opinion. And yes, I am a paper snob. And I don't mind being a paper snob. But let's see. Ooh, look at the shimmer. Ooh, it's so pretty. I hope you can see it. I hope my camera's picking it up. I will do a zoom in a minute when I'm done with the list here. That's perfect. There's no bleed through. There's actually not much ghosting either. I mean, and look at the heart here. You know, I'm holding it up in the air to allow the light to shine through it, so it's much more noticeable. You know, so it's a winner. I don't care if it does ghost. It is my favorite ink from Ferris Wheel Press. My absolute favorite. Okay, let's do this one. This is another collab pen. This is a collab between Penlux and a stationery shop called Little Craft Place that is located in Tomball, Texas. Tomball, Texas happens to be 20 minutes from my front door. So yes, I go to this shop in person, and yes, this shop is extremely dangerous for your pocketbook. I literally, when new things come out, you know, and they show it off on their Instagram and all, I literally have to force myself to stay home. Otherwise, I'd be out on the street. Okay, can't have that. So here we go with the Penlux Little Craft Collab, and the name of this pen is Field of Bluebonnets, because it has the colors of bluebonnets, and there's also the outline of the state of Texas engraved on here. Let me see if I can zoom in just to show you. It probably won't show because of the lighting. And there's a bluebonnet. It's a lovely pen. It writes great. This is a piston filler. Penlux, and I refer to Little Craft Place as LCP. And this is the Field of Bluebonnets. There is also an ink collab with the same name of the color. Oh wait, that's not, yeah, that's the pen. Never mind. They did a collab with Dominant Industry, and the name of that ink is also Field of Bluebonnets. But I don't have that ink in here because it's super, super dry in this pen. So, but I've used it in a Benu Talisman with a medium nib, and it's perfectly fine in that pen. It's beautiful in that pen, but it doesn't do well in its sister pen, which is kind of strange. Penlux and Little Craft Place Field of Bluebonnets, and the ink in this one is Monteverde Chameleon, which is also a very pretty color for fall. This pen writes great. Okay, and I think the ink is almost completely dry. There we go. Flip it over. No bleed through. Hardly any ghosting. It is awesome. Look at how many hearts are here as opposed to X's or question marks. Amazing. In my 2024, was it the 2020? Yeah, the 2024 cousin. Oh my God, I had pretty much all X's for the inks. Nothing was working on that paper. It was a mess. I was so upset because, you know, back then I paid $63. I saw these on Amazon for $72 now. I mean, no, I draw the line at 63. I'm sorry. I got this with the cover, as you saw earlier in the video, and it was a bargain in my opinion. I love the cover. This is Monteverde, their first ever piston filling pen. This is the MP1 for Monteverde Piston number 1. And I got it, of course, in purple. And I can't remember the name of the color right now. It's something Frost. But it's a wonderful pen. It fills so easily. It has a very unique locking piston. And the way that you fill it is, you see here, there's 2 dots. All right, let me zoom in and I'll give you, oh, I'm already zoomed in as far as it's gonna go. Okay, sorry for moving my camera. But you have 2 dots here that line up one on top of the other. To open it, you've got to make sure those, to fill it, you know, to open it, to fill it, you got to make sure these dots are lined up, and you got to really pull on this top part. At least I do with my pen. I have to pull really hard on it. And the first time I filled this pen, I thought I was going to break it because I couldn't get it open. I finally got it open, filled it up. Then when you close it, it makes a clicking sound when it opens. It makes a clicking sound when it closes, because that's the locking mechanism. You do not have to leave this ajar like you do sometimes with other brands of piston filling pens. It's completely sealed up here. It does not need any air to create a consistent ink flow. You won't have to be messing with the piston. At least I don't. I have zero problems with this pen, except for opening it to refill it. It was kind of a booger this morning to refill this pen, but I finally got it open. I do also have an injured right hand right now, so I don't have full strength in my right hand. So that was a big part of the problem. And the ink in this one that I'm probably going to be using exclusively in this one, unless I put Ferris wheel press 𝗷𝗷𝗄𝗃 in it. This has Monteverde Rose Noir, which is a marvelous, marvelous ink color. It's one of my all-time favorites. It's just so gorgeous. And again, I'll be zooming in on this in a minute here. I am down to the last pen for the pen test page. Monteverde MP1. And it is 𝗔𝗽𝗵𝗵𝗃𝗲. And it contains Monteverde, Rose Noir. I should have done this on 2 lines because I'm giving the pen and the ink ratings. Oh well. It's pretty wet on this Tomoe River paper, which is interesting to me. I use this pen a lot, and it's pretty much my everyday pen. So I'm using a Sterling Ink Common Planner right now. Now that has the same Sanzen Tomoe River paper that everybody else has from 2025. It's inconsistent quality, you know, and like I said earlier in the video, it ranges in quality from top to bottom on a single page. You just don't know what your fountain pen ink is going to do. You take your chances, you know, and it's been pretty much okay, except for feathering and some major bleed through that actually got on the other page of Tomoe River paper, but in places, but I've dealt with it. I've learned to live with it. This ink bleeds through the 2025 Sanzen Tomoe River paper in this pen. It does not bleed through in other pens, and it's just because this, did I say it's a B nib? I think it's a medium. Hang on, let me double check. Yeah, that's a medium, not a B. Okay. Let's see if that bleeds through. But the pen is great. That'll be the first heart. Oh, rats. You see, this ink is so juicy in this pen, and I use it all the time. Of course it bled there because I put a lot of ink there, but there's bleed through here and here. And again, it's not the fault of the ink or the pen, it's the paper. Because on the old Tomoe River paper, which I also have, because like I said, I am a paper snob, this does not bleed through. So, the improved Sanzen Tomoe River paper still has a little ways to go before it cuts the mustard with the original, or the OG, as they say. That is a major bummer because this is my everyday. That seriously sucks. All right, that's really disappointing. Now I'm going to zoom in so you can see all these. And then I will do a real quick watercolor test on this paper, and the testing will be complete. Well, I did a boo-boo. I was clearing old photos off my phone, and I mistakenly deleted the video where I was doing the watercolor test. But I have the page in here. I'm going to take you through exactly what I did and explain how it went and the type of watercolors I used and all that. So let me zoom in here. Okay. The first 4 colors are handmade watercolors by Aloha Watercolors. She's like my favorite brand of handmade watercolor. I use her watercolors all the time. And the colors by Keiko that I used were Mango, Periwinkle, Opera Pink, and Keona. So Mango, Periwinkle, Opera Pink, Keona. And I just put a bunch of water on the paper, that is my primo test for any journal. I put as much water as I think the paper can possibly stand before it rips, and then I add the pigment. And then what I did then is I took the journal and I lifted it and I tilted it to get the colors to run through the water that was sitting on top of the paper, because this Tomoe River paper, the water will not leak through. It will sit on the surface until it dries. I've never had water leak through a sheet of Tomoe River paper, ever. The OG or the Sanzen new version, it doesn't happen. And that was the case here. It did not leak through. Of course, it took forever to dry. I did not use a heat gun to speed up the drying process because I wanted to see what it was going to look like air dried, because there is a difference in watercolors between allowing them to air dry or hitting them with a heat gun or a hair dryer. And you get truer colors when you allow them to air dry, especially if any of your watercolor paints are granulating. Now, this swatch here, I created this with a mix of paint from Daniel Smith, which is a mass-produced brand. So definitely not handmade. I used hematite and green gold and a little bit of rose of ultramarine. And again, I put as much paper. That's my dog. She thinks someone's coming to the house like every 10 minutes or so. I put, again, as much water here as I thought the paper could withstand. And then I added the pigments and I did the same type of test over here. I just tilted the planner very carefully back and forth to get the colors to run together so they could do their thing. Now, on the surface, I will have to say, let me take this out of the cover here. I'm really happy with how they look on the page, both brands of watercolor. Very true to the pigments. They look just like they do on a watercolor paper. And I really liked how the hematite here shows some granulation. I thought that was really cool. Then I flipped it over to the other side, because the other side will really tell the tale as to how well the Sanzen 2025 Tomoe River paper withstands water and watercolor. And this is what we get. There was some really severe crinkling because I added so much water on the paper, but if you look up here for the test swatches I did for each color, I used mainly pigment up here. I just added enough water to get the pigment to blend. So this is what's called a mass swatch, meaning it's basically all pigment, very little water. But you can see the crinkled lines in every sample up across the top. That tells me that this paper doesn't take water as good as the original, because on the original, I don't see this. On the other side here, again, you can see the crinkles. And then down here where I put all the water, not only did it crinkle, but when it dried, some of these crinkles dried in place, meaning the paper never stretched back out again. Because when you add water to paper, what happens is it shrinks. Because, you know, I can't talk, sorry. Paper is fibrous. So whenever you add water to any type of paper not made for watercolor, those fibers are going to shrink up when they dry. They will not expand back to their original size, and so you're going to have crinkling in the paper. I fully 100% expected that. The original does this as well. So what I do to offset this is I will very carefully pull on the edge of the paper to try to get as much of those crinkles out while the paper is still really wet. I'll do it 2 or 3 times during the drying process as I allow the paper to air dry. And that's what I did here. So I stretched it out as much as I possibly could to get these crinkles out, but I'm still seeing really intense wrinkles in here where the paper just scrunched up and could never even partially unfurl. And so you've got intense wrinkles here, over here, you know, so it depends on your personal taste with a planner on what you want to do, if you want to use watercolor at all in here, and if you're willing to put up with this. I did not hit the paper with a heat gun only because, 2 reasons. One, I wanted to see it air dry, because typically that's what I do with my paints. I let them air dry. Secondly, Tomoe River paper is extremely thin. You know, it's 52 GSM. So when you hit it with a heat gun, it can easily burn. Not to where, you know, it catches on fire or anything. It won't ignite on you, but you'll get scorch marks. And I didn't want to do that to the paper, so that's another reason I wouldn't use a heat gun ever in my Hobonichi cousin. And I never do. I always allow it to air dry when I do use watercolors, which is infrequent. So I would say my concluding remarks about the watercolor test, it did really well on the surface, but on the other side, that's where my concerns really lie. And also another tip, when you are working in a planner or a journal and you do intend to use watercolors, be sure you use them before you write on the opposite side of the page, because if you're writing over here with fountain pen, like what I do in my Hobonichi cousin, the water is gonna make that fountain pen ink blend in many cases. It depends on the ink, but for many inks, that's what will happen. So always decide what page you want to use the watercolors on. Do your watercolors first, and then do whatever it is you're gonna do on the opposite side. Same thing goes if you've got stickers over here. What can happen is the water can mess with the adhesive on the stickers, and they may not stick as well. Also washi tapes, same thing. The washi tapes can come right up off the paper. So do all your deco on the opposite side of your watercolor page after you've done your watercolor. Okay, so that's all I have to say about the test. I still will probably use watercolor in this, just not as often as I would have otherwise. And now let's take one last look at the pen test page. You know, I'm really happy with how everything went. I mean, look at all the little hearts, you know, really happy. Is it as good as the original? I would say no, but it's a heck of a lot better than the 2025. I'm still concerned that some of this goes so badly that I can almost tell what the exact color of ink is. So once it has writing on both sides of the page, you know, how easily legible is it going to be? That's another issue. For people who do go back and reread their journals, personally, I don't. But, you know, that's quite a personal preference. So if you do go back and read your journal and you need your page to be completely legible, I would say probably skip on the 2025 Sanzen Tomoe River Paper. And hopefully by next year, they'll make even more improvements and get it closer and closer to what the original was. Because this is really a shame, especially when you consider that your Hobonichi cousin all on its own is going to be $63 retail. And if you buy it with a cover, like what I did with mine, this set was $114 US dollars. So, you know, they're not cheap. And I think because, you know, the Hobonichi cousin is not a cheap planner, the paper should be a bit better. We'll see. You know, I will go ahead and use it originally as I planned. This will be my everyday planner and journal for 2026. I'll just have to wait and see how it goes. Maybe the watercolor will react on, you know, better on other pages in here. I don't know. Maybe it has some inconsistencies on the paper. I don't know that either. I didn't see any inconsistencies at all during the pen test. So I'm hoping that problem's been taken care of, because that really drove me crazy about my Sterling Ink Common Planner Volume 1 for 2025. You know, when your consistency is switching as you write down the length of a page, that's not really good. Again, nothing at all against Sterling Ink. Catherine had nothing to do with it. It's Sanzen, the company that manufactures the new version of the Tomoe River paper. So that's all I've got. Video is doggone long enough, and I will be putting out short ones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my longer videos and chop them up into shorter ones. So for those of you who want to see specific parts, you can skip to that. I will try to insert timestamps into the description. Hopefully that will work, and you can go to the specific time of whatever lengthier video you're most interested in. So I thank you all for being here. This is Nefer Kefri, the Positive Vibes Artist. If you've enjoyed this video, found it at all useful, please give it a like and please subscribe to my channel. I am trying to grow here. And thank you all so much, and I'm wishing you a very blessed day ahead.